What's next for the Seattle Mariners? Find out more in today's video. So as of yesterday, the Seattle Mariners just signed Colin Snyder, which fills our 40-man roster. And Colin is definitely going to be a nice piece to have in our bullpen. Last season, against his slider, hitters had a 67 batting average with a 133 slugging and a 36.1 whiff percentage. The dude's got good stuff. His sinker averaged 95.8 miles per hour, while his four-seam averaged 94.8. As you can tell by the videos, his slider is just a sweeper. It is gross and definitely something that the Mariners pitching coaches can capitalize on. So as we know, this whole offseason, Jerry and Justin have been adding a crap ton of arms down in our minor league system. So we have a lot of guys that they're going to want to see if they can develop into something and have them come up at the major league level at some point, hopefully. But at this point in the offseason, it's very fair to say that the Mariners are done, especially at the addition of Jorge Polanco. That seems like that was kind of like their last big piece, but at the end of the day, we don't really know if they're ever done because they tend to surprise us out of nowhere. So in this video, I kind of just want to go over certain things of, do the Mariners have a chance of going out and getting someone else, whether it's an outfielder, a third baseman, or even another pitcher, and someone like Blake Snell. But we're going to talk about a lot of that in today's video. So starting with the obvious, Luke Raley is going to be our left fielder, while Julio's obviously going to be our center fielder. JP is going to be our shortstop. Jorge Polanco is going to be our second baseman. And Ty France is going to be our first baseman, while we obviously have Cal behind the dish. So truly the biggest question marks are right field and third base. Not necessarily question marks, but in terms of whether or not they're going to be playing a lot this season. So obviously you have Mitch out there who definitely gets hurt a lot in his career, and Urias and Rojas, who a lot of people don't seem to really trust in that position, but we're kind of going to see how it rolls out and who's going to really earn the spot over the other one. But that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is who really has the possibility to go out and win those spots from the other one, and who else is possibly out on the market that the Seattle Mariners could go after if they really wanted to add some depth to maybe the outfield. So let's focus on right field as of now. So as we know, Mitch Haniger will most likely be the opening day right fielder, just based on his veteran presence as well as his experience with the Seattle Mariners. While Dom Canzone isn't necessarily even guaranteed to really be his backup. A lot of people are saying that, if Taylor Trammell has a really good spring training, he may possibly make the roster. Obviously, he doesn't have that many choices. He really only has either making the roster or I think he believes he gets cut or traded, one of the two. But in my opinion, obviously, opening day, it will be Mitch Haniger out there. And obviously, we want him to play a full season because I think Mitch has really the potential to do and have a really good season like he did for us back in 2021. Maybe not 39 home runs type of season, but definitely a season where he puts up 25 home runs. He has that type of power and he has that type of ability to go out and do that. The obvious biggest question is Mitch's health. He has had tons of health problems in his career, and it leaves a lot of question marks for Mariner fans. Whether or not he's going to be able to not only be healthy, but be able to perform at a high level as he is getting older, and if Dom Canzone is the answer in his backup role. While some fans might not agree, in my personal opinion, Dom Canzone is definitely going to be on the opening day roster. And again, that's my personal opinion. And I do think he deserves to be Mitch's backup because I do think Dom Canzone has a very high ceiling that he can get to at some point in his career, whether that's this year, maybe in the next year. But I do think Dom Canzone has tons of potential to go out and be an everyday right fielder for us in the future. While he isn't the greatest fielder, and we all know that, he's definitely a bat that has very good bat-to-ball ability and does have a lot of power for a guy of his stature. He's much leaner than a lot of guys, so just looking at him, you wouldn't be like, oh, this guy has a lot of power, but he definitely does. And you're going to hear me bring this up when we talk about Urias and Rojas, but to me, there really doesn't make sense of going out and trading someone like Canzone, because at the end of the day, what was really the point of trading Sewald to go out and get Rojas and Canzone if you're just going to end up replacing them at some point, especially as soon as you are about to? Dom Canzone was a very high-regarded prospect in the Diamondback system, and he's definitely a guy that has a lot of potential in my opinion. So personally, I think right field is going to stay the way it is with Mitch and Dom, so I don't really see a Tommy Pham or anyone else really signing with the Mariners, only because it doesn't really make sense at this point, because I do believe that they have a lot of confidence in Canzone and as well, obviously, as Mitch. So to me, that kind of removes any outfield possibilities, but let's move over to third base. So obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about whether we can even trust Urias or Rojas to play everyday third base if it got to that point. And to me, they're very different players, but I do think one of them is going to earn the spot and have a very good year for us. They're very different in terms of Rojas is more of a bat-to-ball kind of guy. He's really not going to hit a lot of home runs, while Urias, on the other hand, definitely has a lot more power than Rojas has. But again, if you look at their Baseball Savant pages, Rojas has a much better glove than Urias does. Not saying that they both don't have decent gloves, but in terms of comparing the two, Rojas does have the better glove according to Baseball Savant. And if you look at Fangraphs projections, Urias is projected to have a better year with hitting for higher average and more home runs. But I've had to give you my opinion on who I believe will have a better season. My money's going to be on Rojas, only because I do feel as if he's very comfortable playing in Seattle. We saw that in his 125 at-bats with us last season. He hit 272 with 4 home runs, which you really can't complain about. To me, he just seems very comfortable, and I think moving him back to third will only make him that much more comfortable playing in a Seattle Mariners uniform, so I think he's really due for a big season this year. While I do think Urias is definitely going to have a better season than he did last year, obviously with his injuries, but I do think the guy has a lot of potential to also be a great player. I just think if I had to put my money on it, Rojas is going to be more of the higher average guy than Urias would be, and which is clearly what we were looking for this offseason. So obviously that kind of rules out getting people like Matt Chapman, which a lot of people have been talking about, but to me, I don't even think Matt Chapman is really worth the price. He's obviously a great defender. He's just way too inconsistent with the bat, and honestly, he's almost a toss-up just like the other two. Obviously, he has more power, but I think Urias and Rojas, for the price and who we had to give up for them, we might as well keep them and see what they're made of. Because again, to me, the whole point of trading Seawald was to get two guys that could play every day in our lineup, or at least a good amount in our lineup, and could potentially pan out in the future to be everyday players. So why would we trade them right away when we've only had them for half a season? So again, to me, third base is also a lock. Urias and Rojas will be fighting it out for third base. I don't really think there's even a question about that. And obviously you have guys on the bench like Moore and Haggerty who can play anywhere if both of them end up really struggling. And also we have Ryan Bliss down in AAA, so I don't know if he can come up and possibly play third base if really needed, but obviously he's a second baseman mainly. But let's kind of talk about, are the Mariners done essentially signing free agents? Because in my opinion, I think there is one free agent that sticks out that could possibly fall right in the Mariners' lap for the right price. And obviously some of you are going to call me just a really overly optimistic fan, but at the end of the day, I do think it really is possible. So let's remove kind of some of the obvious. Jorge Soler will not be a Mariner. I know I've seen some people talking about it. It's definitely just not happening. He doesn't fit anywhere, and his glove isn't good enough to just stick him in right, which again, you might want to do, but I don't really think they're really on his target right now. Obviously, people like JD Martinez, those full DH types, are definitely out of the question, while I do believe Cody Ballinger is also out of the question, because I do think he's just going to go back to the Cubs. But we'll wait and see, but I definitely don't think he will be a Mariner by any stretch. But to be honest, the guy that I want to talk about, and again, he's a guy we've been talking about for a long time now, is Blake Snell. I personally think Blake Snell has the ability to come to the Mariners, because I do think if he keeps getting declined by other teams to sign that big deal that he really wants, I think at the end of the day, if he's going to take a lower price that he might get, then I do think he might settle for the Mariners. Now, do I think the Mariners will pay him? No. But I do think that he may reach out to them and be like, hey, listen, I know you guys obviously aren't spending a lot of money, but I will take up this certain price to come play with you guys. And at the end of the day, they might accept it, they might decline it, but I do think it is possible Blake Snell falls into the lap of the Mariners. And again, we do have some money we can still spend this offseason, whether they want to save it for the trade deadline and see where we really need to fix some holes if there is any. For some reason, part of me does say that Blake Snell might just fall right in their lap at the right price, and they almost at a price they can't deny. And again, a lot of you are going to disagree with that, which is totally fine. It's just my personal opinion on what's possible for the rest of this offseason. Not that I think they will even make any other moves. But right now, I am very pleased with what the Mariners have done this offseason. I'm very impressed with what Jerry and Justin could do with the strict restraints they had on them. So definitely looking forward to the season. I'm definitely looking forward to see what this bullpen, the starting five can do, and even our starting lineup can do. I think we definitely have a solid chance to be a playoff team this year. And I'm honestly just ready to watch some Seattle Mariner baseball again. I miss it. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please let me know down in the comments if you guys disagree, agree with anything that I'm saying. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.